Good morning, Agent, whatever your name is. In today's 00 training, you'll be learning some advanced pronunciation techniques, which could make anyone's accent, like, completely British or whatever. These are very advanced pronunciation techniques, and as so, could make spies hide in plain sight with perfect British accents. For this reason, this pronunciation training is for British eyes only. Please, take a seat. Today you'll be learning these skills: Intrusion, Elision, Assimilation, and Catenation. They do sound sexy, but believe me, in the wrong hands, they are quite dangerous. Intrusion. Secret sounds will intrude into British sentences between words. These sounds, or phonemes, are y, w, and r. For example, I can't thank you enough. To the not British ear, this might sound fine, but to the trained British ear, you might notice this isn't 100% natural. Listen again. I can't thank you enough. Did you hear the gap between the words you and enough? Intrusion will add a w sound between you and enough. This is because at the end of the word you, the mouth shape is like oo. And we link the two words together with a consonant sound which closely matches the mouth shape. In this case, oo is similar to w. So it sounds like this. You enough. You enough. I can't thank you enough. Another example of intrusion would be I go out. Between the words go and out, again a w sound would intrude. Go out. Go out. I go out. There are, of course, other examples. There are, of course, other examples. See, I intruded an R sound in that sentence without you even knowing it. That's how dangerous it is. Now, traditionally, as you know, British English doesn't pronounce the R at the end of words. We would say there, not there. However, when the next word begins with a vowel sound, we do in this case pronounce the R to link the two words together. There are, of course, other examples. Now I'd like to hear you repeat after me. There are, of course, other examples. And finally, I also mentioned that a y sound can also intrude. I also. Between those two words, a y sound will intrude. Why? Because I ends in an e sound. The closest consonant sound to this is a y. So I also doesn't sound right. But with intrusion, I also sounds dangerously British. Again, the next word begins with a vowel sound, and you'll start to notice a pattern. We only intrude sounds when the next word begins with a vowel sound. Good. Now complete the training and practice with me. Intrusion with w. I need to eat. I need to eat. Go on and do it. Go on and do it. Y intrusion. I agree. I agree. 3 of them are spies. 3 of them are spies. R intrusion. Are you a doctor or a nurse? Are you a doctor or a nurse? I saw a lobster. I saw a lobster. The next pronunciation technique is called catenation, and if the Russians ever learn this, it will be the end of the world. Catenation is when the final consonant sound of one word sounds like it begins the next word. So, for example, this afternoon. The final consonant sound, S, from this joins the next word to sound like s'afternoon. And together, it sounds like this afternoon. The first syllable is reduced to a weak form and sounds like the. The same with this evening and this morning. Let's look at a few more examples. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. Secret agent. Secret agent. As you can see, this is all super secret stuff. Next is assimilation. This is when sounds change in order to connect words. Common examples are these. Next year, last year. Here we see what happens when one word finishes in a T, the next word starts with a Y. It's connected with a ch sound. Other common examples are don't you. This becomes don't you or don't you. Won't you, won't you or won't you. Haven't you, haven't you, haven't you. An important question you might have to ask. Who shot you? The T will connect with that Y again with a ch sound. Who shot you? When a D is followed by a Y, it doesn't sound like ch, it sounds like j. Common examples of this are did you. It changes to did you, or commonly did ya. Could you, or could ya. Would you becomes would you or would ya. Should you becomes should you, should ya, and so on. You get the idea. And also the word handbag sounds like handbag, which begs the question, is it secretly handburger? These techniques, this information, must not leave this room. Which brings me to the final point, elision. A common example of elision is when a word finishes in a T or a D, typically in a consonant cluster, and the next word begins in a consonant sound. That T or D will get removed or elided. What's a consonant cluster? Well, I'm glad you asked. There are no stupid questions, only stupid people. A consonant cluster is a group of consonants together. Think of, for example, when a word finishes in xt, st. Words like next, last. We have covered that last year can sound like last year. Well, we can also elide that last T, so it sounds like last year. Same with next year. Could sound like next year, but we could also elide that T to sound like next year. It is quite easy to learn. You simply drop that final T or D sound, but not always. If the word is alone or the next word begins with a vowel sound, you will pronounce that final T or D. For example, the word last. Alone, you will pronounce the T, last. If it's last week, the next word begins with a consonant sound, not a vowel sound. Last week, that's okay. But if it begins with a vowel sound, for example, the last apple, you should pronounce the T, the last apple, not the last apple. Other common examples are the fastest person. The first one, last Sunday. In this case, the S's blend together very dangerously. And finally, textbook. Textbook. Other common examples of elision are how's the dog becomes how's a dog. In this case, the TH sound is dropped completely, resulting in a weak schwa sound. How's a dog. In fact, this is the same with all how's the questions. How's a dog? How's a wife? How's a job? Well, it seems like you're ready for your final test. You may want to check if someone is a spy or naturally British. In which case, ask them to repeat these code phrases. If they are naturally British, they should be able to pronounce them with perfect pronunciation using these techniques. If not, they are definitely a spy. How's the weather in Moscow? How's the weather in Moscow? This must be the place. This must be the place. This must be the place. She isn't on the West Coast. She isn't on the West Coast. Can I trust you? Can I trust you? Get on the next bus. Get on the next bus. Most people next door are spies. Most people next door are spies. I have to improve. I have to improve. He is the best man. He is the best man. And finally, this cocktail tastes funny. This cocktail tastes funny. Agent, I'd like to thank you for attending today's training session. And as I'm very confident you are completely British, I'm glad this training session has been for your eyes only.